Story 1. I was telling a friend this story, and he told me to post it here. In high school, I worked as a certified nurse's assistant at a local nursing home. I only worked on weekends because my parents wanted me to focus on school during the week. Anyone in the health field knows you cannot work with the elderly when you are sick because some elderly people can die from the common cold. When I was 17, I got really sick. I got sick on a Tuesday with a light cough, and by Friday, I was going into 10-minute coughing fits. The next Monday was Labor Day, and my regular doctor was closed all weekend. My parents decided we couldn't wait until Tuesday and went to the emergency room. I had a bad case of bacterial pneumonia. For those who don't know, regular pneumonia usually results from a bad case of the flu or another illness. But a perfectly healthy person can be in a store, for example, and walk by another person with bacterial pneumonia who sneezes and breathe it in. It's extremely contagious. I was admitted to the hospital and hooked up to tubes. It turns out I was also dehydrated from being so sick. Around midnight, I realized I needed to call in since I wouldn't be able to work the next 3 days. So I called the nurse's desk and told the registered nurse on duty that I had been diagnosed with pneumonia and wouldn't be able to work this weekend and most likely the weekend after due to the possibility I would still be contagious. She told me, "If you wanted a 3-day weekend, you shouldn't have volunteered to work. You can't fake a cough to get out of work in the real world, sweetheart." Then she hung up. I asked my dad what I should do. He took my phone and took a picture of me in the hospital bed. Then we got a signed note from the doctor and took a picture of that. He then told me to email those to the director of nursing for the facility. I did that and also told her what the registered nurse had told me. The thing is, at this facility, any calls through the nurse's station are recorded to protect the facility from lawsuits and/or protect the residents from negligent caretakers. She was on record telling me what she did. When I returned 2 weeks later, I learned she had been suspended for 8 weeks without pay for negligence. Story 2. This isn't really my malicious compliance, but hopefully, you all will get a laugh out of it. Several years ago, I was off work for a week and a half due to a concussion. I took a foul softball to the nose at a company softball game. Always wear your personal protective equipment, kids. When it was time for me to return to work, I had to bring a doctor's note saying I was fit to return to work. My doctor gave me a generic form that they filled out and signed, stating I was cleared to return to work with no restrictions. I went back to work and turned in my note at the nurse's station. About an hour later, I got a call at my desk from the nurse saying she needed a better note from the doctor. I guess the phrase, "no restrictions," isn't specific enough. So I called my doctor's office and apologetically asked if they could fax another more specific note to the nurse. They agreed, although I could hear the eye rolling over the phone. A couple of hours later, I got an email from the nurse. My doctor did send a more specific note. It read, "Cleared to return to regular duties." That means Morna is cleared to do the things required for her job prior to injury. I still do not recommend running with scissors. The nurse thought it was hilarious, and thankfully that appeared to cover whatever she was looking for. I think she missed the sarcastic undertones. Story 3. Before you start, no, I am not an exotic dancer. Read the whole thing to understand the joke. I don't know if this is the right sub, but let me know, please. A few years ago, in my senior year of high school, I was in an economics class. My teacher, who we'll call Mr. A, told us a story about how when he had been in college, a bakery nearby had donuts that they'd leave out with the garbage so college students would put the trash in the bin and take the donuts. He told us about how they'd freeze the donuts and put them in the toaster oven in order to get them warm, and how they'd had a chart of times and temperatures so each donut would be almost as good as a fresh bakery. Well, I decided to make donuts and bring them to class the next day. I spent all night making vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry donuts and frosting them all nice and pretty. I stored them in Mr. A's room until his class so I could pass them out. When the time came, everyone got a donut, everyone loved them. I was so excited because I love baking. And if my goods make others happy, I bask in that little glow for weeks. However, after the first round, students asked for more. I had a ton left over. I made far too many. I said, "The first one is free, the second one will cost $1." When I tell you it rained, it poured. These were students. They all had dollar bills. That was my second to last class. After I was done for the day, there was one class left, so of course, I went class to class. And if they looked like they weren't busy, I walked up to the teacher to ask if I could sell donuts. This worked extremely well until I got to my art teacher, who I'll call Mr. B. Mr. B told me to go to the principal's office because he was worried that I wasn't allowed to be doing what I was doing. I spoke to the principal, Mr. C, and after 10 minutes of random conversation that didn't have anything to do with the topic, he told me, "You cannot sell home-baked goods on school property." Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Malicious compliance activated. You see, if you stress the sentence differently, you'll get a new meaning. Can't sell home-baked goods, sure, but I can sell other stuff. I had read about this kid who sold paninis at his own school, Panini Dan, I think. Anyway, it gave me an idea for a plan which I formed in the 6 seconds it took to stand and walk out of the room. I walked to the janitor's room and asked if I could have the smallest roll of those sad brown paper towels and went to work. I ripped apart several nice-sized towels and started saying, "I'm selling paper towels for $1. Each purchase gets you a free donut." Easy enough, people ate them up. Important. The most popular of the 3 flavors had been strawberry. So, at the end, I picked up my little brother and my friend from their classes, and we started walking out to my truck. I pulled the stack of ones from my pocket and loudly proclaimed, "I feel like an exotic dancer. My stage name is Strawberry." As my psychology teacher rounded the corner, he gave me a look like a disappointed parent. Still, though, I got like $50-60 that day. I even started selling other donuts and brownie balls that I made. If anyone else has a story like this, I'd love to hear it. Also, shout out to that Panini Dan dude for the inspiration. Story 4. Mobile formatting. This happened ages ago when I was 9, but someone suggested posting it here. It's pretty short and boring, so no need for a summary. So, 9-year-old me had recently been given a scooter, and of course, I rode it to school every day. Usually, I would ride through the school with no problems whatsoever, drop my scooter off in the bike shed, and that was that. Until a new teacher comes to school, we'll call her Mrs. Olivia. Now I swear that this woman loved to make kids feel terrible and berated us every time we did something she didn't agree with. Somebody checked the time on their phone. Playing games on phones was not allowed, but calling your parents or checking the time was, and she started to scream at them and made them stay 1 hour after school on Friday for a detention. Anyway, let's get to the story. As usual, I was riding my scooter to school when I noticed that Mrs. Olivia was on duty. Big deal. I went through the gate and started to ride towards the bike shed when I was stopped by her shrieking. She ran up to me, yelling, "Get off your scooter, you'll run into someone and take their eye out," and proceeded to threaten me with detention after school while I stared at the ground trying not to cry. The last thing she said was, "Never ride your scooter in school again." After I finally got away from her, I had an idea. She said, "Your scooter, not a scooter." One of my friends had a scooter, so together we came up with a plan. The next morning, we rode scooters into school together, and we were pulled aside by Miss Olivia, who started to scream at us. "I told you never to ride your scooters into school again." We stared up at her as innocently as we could and pointed to the name tags on our scooters, which we had swapped earlier. Her reaction was the best. She started to turn beetroot purple as we laughed and scootered off. She never bothered us again. So there's my small story of malicious compliance. Story 5. My cousin Martin's first job out of school was in a fastidiously old-fashioned government department. He would eventually rise to a prestigious rank in said department before departing to do what he really wanted to do in life. But he started as a very junior office junior dog's buddy. Part of his role was to go around the various areas and collate their requests for supplies. He'd then turn those into official orders via the designated barely computerized system. It was stressed to him in his training that anything to do with paper is ordered in sheets, not sensible delivery units. So examples. Accounts asked for 30 boxes of copier paper. A box is usually 5x 500 sheets, so order 75,000 sheets of copier paper. That gives the supplier the flexibility to deliver different box sizes. Envelopes are really just folded paper, so don't order 10 boxes of C5 size. Check the existing boxes, and assuming there are 100 envelopes in each, order 1,000 envelopes. Notepads. Typically, an average pad has 80 sheets, so a request for 50 pads translates to 4,000 sheets of notebook paper. It was stressed that there are no exceptions. Any paper product that comes in sheets is treated this way. Around about week 5, he was requested to order 500 toilet rolls. He checked an existing roll. They are sheets of paper, right? It had 400 sheets. I forgot to mention that there was a serious lack of quality checking or common sense at the back end of the ordering system. The subsequent delivery of 200,000 toilet rolls was estimated as enough to keep them going for a third of a century, perhaps longer, as they could not get to the restrooms as the corridors were blocked by the unloaded delivery. This led to a memo clarifying that bathroom requisites are an exception to the order by sheets directive. Story 6. So I got an indoor cycle from Amazon to avoid going to the gym. Pretty happy with it. Wasn't overly expensive like a Peloton. Sacrificed some quality, but still stout and heavy duty. Anyway, I was showing a friend the bike after they tried it out on my Amazon account, and lo and behold, there was a $1.50 coupon available to be clipped. So I contacted their chat to see if they would price match since it was only a week old. And they said they could do a one-time courtesy credit for only Amazon products. I was like, that doesn't make sense. You should be able to price match and refund me the difference if I am within my return period. They said they could not, and the best option was to order the same bike with a clipped coupon and return it. I found that completely illogical, so I escalated to make sure this is what they wanted to do and got transferred to 5 different people. They all said they were unable to price match coupons, and this was my best option, so they filed a return for the old bike, and I ordered the new one at $1.50 less. Amazon dropped off the bike at the front door, and I scheduled UPS to pick it up the next day without moving it. Really dumb way to get a coupon price matched. Story 7. I was recently in a hardware store. The employees wear dark blue polo shirts with the company name embroidered on it. I was wearing a bright orange t-shirt with my company name in large letters across the back. I was looking at the safety glasses when I heard a middle-aged lady say, "Excuse me, do you work here?" Wow, I'm not even wearing anything close to what the employees are wearing, but she did ask very nicely, "Sorry, but I don't work here." Immediately she apologized for bothering me. She was so sincere and nice about it, and I, having 30 years of retail experience, could not suppress all those years of service. I found myself saying, "What are you looking for? Maybe I can help you find it." She said she didn't want to be a bother, but just could not find an item she saw in the store's weekly ad. I knew where the item might be, and a moment later, I had helped her find it. It was in a large box that looked a bit heavy. She said she had bad shoulders and asked if I could help lift it off of the shelf for her. I said I would do one better and took it up to the register for her. She was so grateful and kept thanking me for my help. She had another item she wanted to find, and so I got the attention of an actual employee and sent them off on a new search. I saw her again as I was leaving, and she thanked me again. I smiled and just said that I was glad to be of some help. We agreed that these little acts of kindness add up to make the world a much better place, and we all need that.